And so we are back. It's part 2. Thank you. Thank you so much. And that's what I meant. I meant to say that if for some reason the microphone is doing something different than what we planned, we can always come back. You know, that's the beauty of technology, is that you can always tune back in and pick up where you left off. So here we are, part 2. We're talking about chords, music, and effects. So thank you so much for being with us on this beautiful Saturday afternoon. By the way, let me say this, just in case we have another interruption. I will not be with you next Saturday. I want to make sure you know that, because I have something very big that I'm working on. And so I need to be away next Saturday. But trust me, I will share with you the following week a little bit about what I'm working on. But I'm thinking that maybe Friday, maybe we'll do something early on Friday, even if it's just to come on for a few moments and wish you a nice weekend, and to tell you that we hope that you're still making the best music you can make. You're dreaming big. You're living your music dreams out loud, and to give you some nice words for your music making and everything that's in your world as you continue your journey, really, to try to learn to play the piano the best way that you can. And that's an individual thing. So we're aiming to bring to you ways that you can think about approaching piano lessons. You know, it's just so interesting. I mean, I'm very excited about the things that are starting to develop, because I know I'm not alone in this, that there are other artists out there who also happen to teach, and they're having all these experiences, and to be able to talk with someone about that, I think is so important. I think that different things are happening for different people. So it depends on the community that you're in. Which community are you in? And you're trying to do this thing. How did you approach teaching in your community? Did you approach it from the standpoint of, I'm just going to go to a community and I'm just going to start teaching? Or did you pay attention first to what the needs seem to be and then respond to that? So we're going to be talking about some of those things coming up. So I hope that you will stay with us for that. Before we end today's podcast, though, I do want to talk about some of the connections that I've been able to make within the greater New York City area, and just to encourage you, if you do happen to be in this area, that there are some things that you can jump into. So stay tuned for that. Now, AES, I was about to start talking about that. And I think the way that I reached across my microphone, it unfortunately cut out the microphone. So I'm going to try not to do that again. But I will say this, look it up for yourself. The Audio Engineering Society, they put on these shows every year in different places. I think there's one in Italy, there's one in other places in Europe, and we're fortunate enough to have one in New York. And I hope to stop by myself. But the tickets are free if you're looking to go to the show, and you don't need to go to all of the show. There's a way to get free tickets. So try to tap into that if you can before it's too late. Tap into that, get your free badge so you can at least see some of the exhibits. But one reason we're excited is because we're interested in microphones, we're interested in recording. I'm interested in professional audio just in general, because I've had a chance to step outside of my artist box a little bit. Believe it or not, one time in my life, I thought that the only way to record an acoustic piano was to be at an acoustic piano. You've heard me say a little bit about that. Some people think it's controversial. They think that, you know, in order to make recordings, you really need to be on the real thing. But professional audio has a different perspective. I would say that, you know, they're more about capturing the sound of a thing as opposed to actually be sitting at the thing, if that makes sense. We'll say more about that. But I just want to encourage you for that. Now, shoutouts. I have a student that is learning to play Halloween songs. So I'm going to play a sound effect now. in his honor. He really loves Halloween. And so I really have to acknowledge him because he took on the challenge, the Halloween challenge this year, learning to play at least 2 songs. And so now he's thinking about even adding to his library of Halloween songs because he loves it so much. So shout out to him. I just love it when I see the enthusiasm, when I see my students light up, because I just feel like, to have them engaged in such a way that they feel that, they can take charge of their own music making and really start to make decisions for themselves, be self-directed in their learning, to make requests. Some of my students, I don't even want to judge them, but I will say this: they really have a whole outline of what their path should be when it comes to music making. And so as the teacher, you have to pull back from that. I had to accept the way I learned to play the piano is not the way some of my students are looking to learn to play the piano. And the way that people in my family supported me playing the piano is not the way that family members now support that, because we're living in the age of social media. There's a lot of online learning out there. There's so many different approaches. I mean, there are thousands. I believe there's an infinite number of ways to learn to play the piano. I really do. But anyway, shout out to that student. Shout out to another student she's working on a song about polar bears. And she was so excited. I just have to give her a shout out just to see that enthusiasm. And she could hardly contain her excitement. And so shout out to that student that's learning to play a song about a topic that she really loves. And it's about polar bears. So shout out to her. So not so much shout outs. I just have some honorable mentions, so to speak. And I'm going to be talking about these students a little bit later. Of course, I never say the names of the students unless it's a public presentation involved, but this is all private. So I just have a lot of students that are involved in sports. And it's just always so interesting to find out how they're going to fit music and piano practice in with their sports practice. So I'm going to be saying a little bit more about that in upcoming podcasts. So again, just to let you know, I'm not available next Saturday. Maybe this Friday I may be podcasting live just to say hi and to make an announcement about the upcoming week. Also, I want to encourage you to attend the coffee festival. Anybody here into coffee? Raise your hand if you're into coffee. Well, if you are into coffee, there's a coffee festival that's coming up this coming week. So tap into that if you can. It's an interesting festival. And I think there's a sister festival that will take place in Italy. I would almost give anything to be able to go to Italy and to see what's going on with the baristas over there. But, it is what it is. Check it out if you care to. It should be available. The information should be available online. Make the best music you can this week. It really is about dreaming big and choosing the best way to play the piano that works for you. Our homework assignments this week will be posted over in CMajor's classroom. So listen out for that. Listen to the chords of the music in Dvorak, Berle, Steele, Price. And so just know that we are listening along with you, really. That's what it is, to hear music differently. How do you hear music? Do you hear it as a melody? Do you hear it as harmony? Do you hear it as something else? It's a conversation. So just look forward to having more and more conversations with you who are listening and those who want to somehow walk with us on this journey. Now, I would like to give just a moment of silence to the loss of one of the world's biggest singers. I'm not even sure how to label someone who has such a big voice in the music world. And I found that to be the case when I read the headlines too. I'm thinking, there's so many ways to describe this person. But just a moment of silence for the loss of Miss Norman, Miss Jessie Norman. And so I have a personal story that I'm able to share. And it's because I had a friend at one time that was so captured by the voice of Miss Norman that we actually traveled together to attend a concert at Carnegie Hall featuring Miss Norman. And we stayed from start to finish, and I believe we even went backstage and saw her get into her limo. I think it was a Lincoln Continental that she got into with her driver. And so it was just amazing to see a legend on voice. And my friend was so touched at the time, just could not stop bawling like a baby, just tears of excitement and joy all at once, you know. And he just kept saying, I just saw Jessie Norman. I just saw Jessie Norman. And I was like, no, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. But to see her as a living legend on the stage at Carnegie Hall was just amazing. If you have a chance, check out the Carnegie Hall season. I think they just opened up the season. I think they just did a live broadcast for that. But Carnegie Hall has changed over the years. Let me tell you about that. But we just encourage you to live out your music making dreams. What are you aiming to do? Are you trying to play the piano? Are you trying to read music and play the piano? Or are you trying to just sit down and play? It's a different effort. Or something else. I mean, there's so many apps out there to teach you to play the piano. Do you want to just learn to play one song on the piano? And do you want to remember how to play that song for years to come? What is your approach? That's what we're looking into here on this podcast. Join us if you can over at the CMajor radio show. Before you do, though, let me close out today by saying that I was able to get my hands on a publication that is talking about some of the music making going on in the greater New York City area. So it's all about connections. And I just wanted to see some of the music making that they wrote about, if at all, in this publication. So I'm just browsing right now, browsing live with you. And I know a lot of it has to do with yoga and meditation, but here we go. There's something called a musical playtime organization, World of Musical Play. I'm not going to say the name of these places, but you can look that up. Here's something else, music. They're combining theater arts, dance school, fine arts, music, cooking, and more. They're doing a lot of things. And so there's a community center that you can get into for music making. Here's something else, a piano workshop. So if you happen to be in Chester, not even sure where that is, but I think it's either Chester, New Jersey, or the person's name is Chester. I think I've actually run into this person before. Okay, but they offer in-home lessons. They offer a first lesson free trial. They offer private lessons, and it's called the Piano Workshop. Let me just turn the page. Oh, now we have a place that does piano tuning. I hear about this all the time. My students are asking me, who tunes pianos? I think that is a really great question. It really depends on your area, where you are. But here it is. This person does tuning in private residences, concert halls, schools, colleges, churches, theaters. And so there's his website here. If you want to know anything about this, please let us know. And that's what we're here for. You know, tap us on social media and say, hey, you know, we were listening to the podcast. We heard you mention something about tuning. What is that resource? And I'll give it to you. Music Together I think it's something that's well known. I think it's a franchise, but you can share the music of family music through an organization like that, and you see the parents holding the child. There's a dance. There's something about dance here. So if you want to get into ballroom dancing, there's something for that. I mean, there's just a lot here. Another thing that I like is that there's a whole huge section about wellness. But you all know that I'm into music making and wellness. So we'll continue to talk about that. I was able to have some green tea with some honey today. And so I'm really big on trying to keep well and trying to stay well and doing it through music making if you can. You've been listening to CMajor Before the Show. I'm your host, CMajor Porter. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for putting up with us when it comes to being interrupted. And we had to go to a part 2. And even though part 2 is a little bit shorter than part 1, we wanted to come back and just say a proper, well, I won't even say goodbye. It's just really just a proper wave. I just wanted to give a proper wave and say, hey, go for it. Make the best music you can make. And we'll see you next time right here on CMajor Before the Show. If you can, join us a little bit later on the CMajor Radio Show. Have a wonderful weekend and a wonderful evening.